for 10-15 minutes, and then they start rolling me into the OR, and I'm like sheer panic. Does anyone know, like, at that point they had taken my phone away. I'm like, does anyone know where my husband is? Why is he not here? And of course, like, there's no way in hell he would have made it, like, in that short time. I'm like, he ended up making it there in like 25 minutes, which is amazing. Like, I don't even understand. But so they did my epidural. I'm laying on the bed, and my doctor comes in, and I said, is my husband here? Is my husband here? I asked him, and he's like, no, he's not. And then probably like 30 seconds go by, and he's like, oh, your husband's here. He's double fisting monsters. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course that's him. That's definitely him. I was like, can he come in? And he's like, yeah, they're gowning him up right now. So he comes in, and I'm just like completely relieved. I don't know why. I mean, of course that's hard to like think about not having your spouse or baby's father with you when your babies are coming out, especially in this situation. Like, I think if, you know, everything was like kind of normal and it wasn't early and my nerves weren't going crazy, like, it would have been okay. But I just couldn't handle it. Anyways, so the epidural wasn't that bad. I just didn't really like the feeling of it all, like feeling so heavy. And feeling like the tugging while they were, I guess Lincoln was like lodged up in my ribs, so they were like trying to get him out. But as he pulled each baby out, he ended up bringing Jackson over the curtain, like above my head for a split second, like maybe 2 seconds. And then Lincoln was even faster. Like, one of the nurses just brought him like on the side of the curtain so I could just like lay eyes on him for a second, and then they were gone. Okay, so after I filmed this, there's a couple things that I realized that some people might not completely understand. The reason why we had to have the babies that night is because the heart rates were dropping, and just being completely 100% transparent, we weren't sure if they were alive, if they were going to survive, if they were even going to survive the night, let alone another minute on the inside. So that's why they had to do an emergency C-section. And that was it. I sent Josh to go be with them and take pictures of them and see them and make sure they were okay. And I wanted him to be able to at least be with them because I couldn't. So he took off with them for a little bit, followed them to the NICU. They brought me back to recovery, and that's when I got, like, I think really funny. I was like, just, you know, like, someone just rang my doorbell, and I don't know why, because I don't know. Oh, dog food. Zoe! I think she just woke up Lincoln. She's so crazy with the doorbell. I guess it's a good thing, but it's okay. So anyways, they brought me back into recovery. I was funny. I was loopy. It was like crazy. Like, I don't know why. I was in like such a funny mood though. Like, I was cracking jokes. I look back now and I'm like, I can't believe I was so like fine after they were born. He said, Josh said they were fine, and then we still had, at this point, didn't have names, and he knew I really liked the name Jackson, and then I had thought of it a couple weeks prior that Lincoln really went well with Jackson. No, they're not named after presidents, if you're wondering that, but it is kind of like like, we like that they're named after the presidents. We knew there was a good chance that they were going to be premature, and even like after this, I was like, I am set on Jackson and Lincoln. Like, they need strong names. I want them to have strong names. And he was kind of like, I think I might get into this in another video. So when I told him I liked the name Jackson, he said Jack Daniels. I said, no, absolutely not. That's not happening. We are not naming our kid Jack Daniels. So he said, like, a little bit of time went by, and I was like, we should probably, like, wait until I'm not loopy anymore to, like, name our children. He just, like, laughs. And little time goes by. We were in there for, like, 3 hours. It felt like, I think, like 3 hours. It was actually really nice. Like, we got to spend time, just me and him. And we were laughing. It was the middle of the night. Like, it was some of the best, probably one of the best times I've ever had with him. We were just, you know, nobody was like sidetracking us with anything. I was just in recovery. We had just had our babies. Like, everything was good in the world. Our babies were fine. All that stress was off our shoulders for the most part. You know, we didn't lose them. It was just a really happy time. And I tell him that. I'm like, I just loved that time with you. We just don't really get time together. Just the two of us. Especially, obviously not now. So anyways, he said, okay, their names are Jackson and Lincoln. We just need to figure out their middle names now. And you guys, I was like, no more arguing about their names. Like, such a relief. When he said that. So anyways, oh my gosh. Then, basically, like, as soon as they brought me into my, like, postpartum room, this is a separate room from the recovery room. So they brought me into my postpartum room, which was pretty big. Like, I didn't expect anything like that, especially not having my babies in hand, who again were in the NICU. I started asking for a pump and water. Like, water was what I wanted, and they said, you cannot have anything. I think it was like 12 hours afterwards, and I was like, no, I'm gonna die. Like, if I don't have water, I'm gonna die. At least water, ice chips, something. And then they were like kind of hesitant about having me pumped. I think they just didn't want me to, like, stress about anything, and they knew nothing was gonna come out at that point anyway. Like, I think I knew that too, but everything I had read said you need to start pumping right away, because I was very, very determined to breastfeed, and I knew that my chances were gonna be probably much more slim because my babies were so early and everything. And they were going to be preemies, and they were going to probably not know how to latch and all of the above. So I was stressing it. I'm like, I need to do everything in my power to make this happen. And then she said that I could have ice. I think she said if I felt better or something. I don't even remember. She said she'd give it to me at the 6-hour mark, which was about 4 in the morning. You guys, I don't care how dry your mouth is, do not let them give you water, ice. I couldn't stop throwing up. I was so sick. I was so sick. Basically, I couldn't go see the babies until I was not sick, because obviously they didn't want me throwing up in the NICU. Of course not. I was beside myself. I basically was forcing myself to, because I had to be wheeled in a wheelchair to the NICU, and they said if I could stand up to get into the wheelchair and not get nauseous on the way, or once I sat down, I could go. And of course, every hour I was like, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. I first tried around like 6 a.m. or 6 or 7 a.m. I think, and got sick. Tried again, like 8 or 9, got sick. That time I don't think I actually got sick, but I was like so nauseous that I knew, it's okay buddy, that I knew I was gonna get sick in the NICU, and I didn't want my experience to be that way, none of our experiences to be that way my first time with the boys. So around 11 o'clock I finally felt up to going, and I got to see them. So it was 12 hours later basically that I first saw them, and it was amazing. I'm going to talk about their experience in the NICU and what it was like and everything in a separate video, but I just kind of want to go over the rest of my stay at the hospital. And it may end up being a part 2. I don't know. I'm gonna figure that out. Again, I'm still new at all this, but I just want to say no one ever prepared me for what C-section recovery was going to be like. It was hard enough to not have my babies with me. It was so painful. So painful. The first day was okay, but the second and third I think were the absolute hardest. I literally felt like there was a fire inside of my stomach anytime I moved like an inch. I couldn't even like get up to go to the bathroom without screaming, and I'm not exaggerating. It was excruciating. I've never experienced anything like that ever in my life. And I always say, like, if we have more kids, I absolutely do not want to have another C-section. And nothing against anyone that has C-sections. That was so brutal. And I don't know if it was from like, because I had twins and I had like extra skin, like more extra skin than your average person having a singleton or whatever, but it was terrible. So terrible. Like, I felt so bad because I was literally screaming, like getting onto, I didn't want to get in the wheelchair to go to the bathroom because I knew that meant getting up and getting down that many more times. So I'm trying to remember this all right. But basically I would like hobble over to the bathroom finally after they took my catheter out 24 hours later. And I was actually very afraid for them to remove it because then that meant I had to get up and go myself. I was afraid. I was very afraid of the pain. Even with the medication they were giving me, like I was still feeling a lot of pain. And it was some intense, I mean, it's some intense stuff they give you after a C-section. But basically once I got up off the bed, I couldn't figure out how to do it pain-free. My husband kind of taught me a little bit, and the nurse kind of taught me, but he taught me because he had broken his arm before. Basically how to like kind of roll onto your elbow. Got that, kind of like held onto the wall the whole way down to the bathroom, which was not, I mean, it's not that far. Like your average person would take like 4 steps and get there. 5 steps maybe. But it was like almost like a crawl for me. But I crawled walked along the wall, and sitting down and then standing up was so hard. I was almost like hovering over the toilet. Sorry, that's TMI, but it is what it is. It's the reality. I was there from Monday, and basically on Thursday, Wednesday, I pretty much begged them to let me stay as long as I possibly could, because I knew as soon as I went home, I wouldn't be allowed to drive, and it would be limited for when I would get to see the babies. And that was hard because my husband was working and I didn't have family or anybody that lived here. I did have friends that offered in things, but they all work, and I didn't want to inconvenience anyone at all because I knew it would be emotional for everyone involved, because I always had a really hard time leaving them. Anyways, I asked to stay as long as I possibly could, and they let me stay. Basically, insurance would let me stay until Friday. And they ended up processing my discharge around 8 p.m. on Friday. So I was there Monday at noon-ish to 11:30, I don't know. Monday at noon, we're just going to call it noon, until Friday night at 8 p.m. I feel very lucky. Like, most people would be like, I want to get the heck out of this hospital. But, again, I lived 40 minutes away. So, again, we lived 40 minutes away, and I just knew what it was going to be like coming to visit them, and every time was going to be so hard. So, basically, I had a feeling that they gave me like my last pain medication dose before I left. And then Josh brought like most of my stuff, like our stuff, down to the car. Went and grabbed the car. They processed my discharge. I get in the wheelchair. And the lady is the nurse, what's it called? One of the nurses pushes me down to the car. CNA, that's what I was trying to say. The CNA pushes me down. And I just lost it. I felt this intense, like, emptiness as soon as I as soon as I was rolled out those doors of the elevator and I was on a different floor, because I didn't know how long it was gonna be. I didn't know how long it would be until I would have my babies home. It's just, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And you guys, when I say I screamed, I literally screamed bloody murder 40 minutes home. The whole time. I mean, I don't even know what I was saying. I just was like, I can't do this. I can't, all these can'ts, and it was so hard. And if you've ever gone through this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you do. I can't imagine what it must be like to lose a child, because it was the hardest thing to drive away from that hospital. And my husband was so calm, and he was so nice, and just kind of quiet. He was quiet a lot, but also reassuring me, everything was gonna be okay. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. Reassuring me that they were fine and that they were gonna be home soon. It's okay. Here they are, monsters now. Ginormous babies. Oh, it's okay. So we actually went to the pharmacy to fill my pain medication. They got it filled right away. Mind you, we got home at like 8:30, and no, we got to like our side of town around 8:30, and he had to be work at 10, and we had like no food in the house. So he brought me through. We got the medication, and then we drove right next door to Sonic because he had to go to work. I was gonna be home. I wasn't gonna be able to really move off the couch, so we had to get something. Anyways, we got like the popcorn chicken from Sonic. And went home. He kind of set everything up for me. Oh, and I did end up renting a Medela, like a symphony from the hospital pharmacy, because I didn't have a breast pump. I didn't have anything at that point. So I didn't have a choice. I had to do something or my milk was going to be completely gone. So we rented that for $60 from the hospital. In case you're wondering, that's about what it costs to rent them. I know Babies R Us used to rent them, but they're probably a lot more from them. But there are, like, if you're ever wondering, or you do want to do that, it's really not too bad. I mean, I didn't think $60 was too bad. It was a lot for us at the time, but breastfeeding was very important to me, and having a hospital grade, well, really, that was, like, the best deal for, like, the rental. So anyways, and I had all the parts because they give you all that when you're pumping in the hospital. They give you, you know, a brand new set of pump parts. So anyways, I had that for a month, and then I ended up returning it. But, because a friend actually gave me a pump. Anyways, got home, slept on the couch, sitting up, did not move from the time he left work until the time he got home. The next day, I remember Zoe was so sweet. She, like, did not leave my side. I'm sure she wondered, like, where the heck I was all week. But she knew. She sensed something, and she was, like, right at my feet. Because I pretty much didn't leave the couch for, like, a week. I was just pumping and surviving and going to the NICU when I could. I pretty much went every day. It was very, very, very hard on him. He was very tired, but he took me. It was just really nice to see them. And then, sorry, I'm trying to remember. I was in a lot of pain, like a lot, and it was just strange. Like, I just didn't feel like it was normal, you know. And like, I ended up being in pretty immense pain for like 3 weeks, which now that, like, you know, when I went to the doctor and stuff, like, I went for an earlier follow-up than like 6 weeks because I was in so much pain. But she was like, it's normal. Like, you just had crazy abdominal surgery. Of course, you know, you use those muscles 1,000,000 times a day. It's understandable. So my doctor was actually a man, but I saw the PA a lot of times. Stephanie, she was great. But anyways, recovered. I'm better now. Every time I hobbled up those hospital halls, and it was the greatest feeling, like walking into that NICU. I never imagined loving a hospital as much as I did, but that's where my babies were, so I loved that place. The boys ended up, I think I'm going to do an extensive, like, NICU video. But Jackson was in the NICU 7.5 weeks, and Lincoln was in 12.5 weeks. He was much smaller. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. So their birth statistics, whatever you want to call them. Jackson was 4 pounds 1 ounce, 17 inches long, and Lincoln was 2 pounds 15 ounces and 15 inches long. They were little itty bitty. I will insert some pictures though, somewhere within this video. But I hope that this kind of answered some questions for you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Again, I do plan on doing, probably in the future, I do plan on doing, like, what it was like to be pregnant with twins, what it was like to be pregnant with very high-risk twins, and also, like, our NICU experience. I plan on talking about breastfeeding twins and all of that. So I hope you'll stick around. I am sorry I was all over the place. I'm just trying to remember. I'm going to try to kind of piece it together correctly. But if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel below. Like I said, I post, like, mommy type videos. My son has a condition that I do like now to talk about. I'm comfortable talking about it. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. Just make sure you follow us on Instagram. I post lots and lots of stories on there like all day long. Some people are probably so annoyed with my stories. Just kidding. They're like the cutest babies ever. Anyways, again, I'm rambling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Love you guys. Bye.